what they did to this president of Harvard University. Who was the first black woman president. It's about they used her as a scapegoat to fight DEI. We would not have to have DEI if we didn't have DENY. We would deny. DEI was to make up for the denial historically of blacks, of women, of gays, of Latinos, and Asians. This man decided that he would stand up and say that taking out Dr. Guy is the beginning of taking out DEI. I want to come to his office and let him know that we will fight him. We said nothing when the fight was at Harvard, but now he's declared war against all of us.
Where's the rest of it? Play it. Where's the rest of the video? Welcome to the Gilchrist Experience. I'm in a new studio here. This is not the firehouse. We're at M&N 38th Street. And today's guests, Damian Walters, NAN member, and Megan Buckley, a sister from NAN. Megan, tell us what you think about Reverend Sharpton and DEI.
Well, thank you for having me. You're right, I am a proud National Action Network member.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in service to National Action Network for 4.5 years now in various different capacities. And I follow Reverend Sharpton's lead in whatever actions he thinks not only National Action Network should take, but also the country as a whole. And this attack on DEI is a direct attack from this current administration. It's one of the first things that he attacked when he got into the White House last week. And I am in full support of a pushback against that because essentially they're trying to roll us back to a time in this country when white straight men had all of the power and all of the opportunity, and that should not happen. We will not go back.
White supremacy at its truest form. Donald Trump. Well, this DEI is a battle that we've been at quite some time. We've got Minister Ron McDaniels on Zoom, and he's the leader of this movement. Welcome to the show, Ron. How's it going?
You changed my whole name, McDaniels?
Yeah.
Come on, you're supposed to be my grandfather.
McHenry.
Come on.
I started to say my
McDaniels.
boy. I don't want to. I'm not comfortable here yet, so when we get in a more homey place. My first time in the studio.
You look good. That's what matters.
Well,
I'm so happy to be on the call with all of you, great leaders. I am, geared up for war in this space. I am the coordinator for justice at the House of Justice here in Harlem for the National Action Network. And we have been leading the country in the fight to preserve diversity, equity, inclusion. We are going on our 56th picket tomorrow. So, Winston, if you get down and everybody on the call, we are going to continue this fight because DEI is a civil right. When we first heard about DEI on the national stage was when George Floyd was killed. George Floyd was murdered. They protested around the world concerning the fact that there is discrimination based on race, based on gender, based on sexual orientation in this country. And many companies vowed that because of the data that came out, that they would be a part of the project of pushing America ahead instead of taking us back. And during this time, with all of these promises made, we have seen white backlash instead of progress.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of pushing this country forward, we're seeing the Republican Party, led by Donald Trump, dismantling DEI programs. So if we talk about the tenure of Joe Biden as president, we know that, again, white households make double that of black households. And one of the things that the administration promised was closing the wealth gap between black and white households. And DEI programs did that. It did that within the school systems. It did that in the business sector with the contracts, and it did that with employment. And how did it do it? Because DEI programs and in its implementation had to produce records that show who they hired and who was in the contracts, who was in the boardroom. So without these programs, there was no real transparency that was happening. And so when they are fighting against DEI, they're not fighting against just black folk. They're fighting against all of us Americans.
Tell the story.
So we should all see it as for what it is. There is this propaganda, this misinformation that is going around that DEI stands for did not earn it.
Right.
And it's talking about merit, but we understand that when we talk about earning things, we've had to do more to get less. And we know that we have overcame so much. If this country were really about hard work, they would go back to our history and see that we're the ones who built this country.
That's
right.
it.
Our ancestors' fingerprints are on the cornerstones of the building blocks of this country. And based on our labor, we made Cotton King, we made the tobacco
That's it.
roads, we made the country the wealthiest country in the entire world. And so we are saying we won't go back to a time of where you would take our work and then be rich off of it. And we're saying we're going to draw the line in the sand. We're fighting the National Action Network. Again, we've been demonstrating for going to be our 56th week. And not only are we screaming aloud in the street, we're putting our money where our mouth is. The companies that are saying that they're for us, we're going to be there for them. We shopped at Costco last week. We took 100 members from this Harlem chapter to Costco's, and we shopped. And we're promoting companies that promote us. We're going to do so again this week. It's called a boycott, which is opposite of a boycott. The National Action Network is doing a 90-day study, which we will roll out, about the companies that we will decide to boycott. But in the moment, we're again, boots on the ground. We're continuing to fight. And we must do so in a tradition of faith. Dr. King, known for his many demonstrations, didn't just demonstrate. He is known for the Montgomery Boy Buscott. We know that Rosa Parks, who was trying to sit in the front of the bus because everybody paid the same fare. So if we all pay the same money, we should be able to sit where we want to sit. However, it was a Jim Crow South, and they did not allow her to sit where she wanted to sit. She was arrested, and Dr. King got involved, and they implemented the Montgomery Boy Buscott. And they were able to, again, bring the bus company to a place of where, again, they were able to get rid of the rules that weren't for all Americans. And that sort of plan came out of Harlem. We know that Adam Clayton Powell, who was here in Harlem, had a boy buscott here in Harlem.
Give us a history.
And so we are taking the movement that was given to us from our forefathers. We are patterning ourselves after the dream. We are patterning ourselves after the faith leaders before us as we march together in unity.
We might remind people that Montgomery bus boycott.
You got to forgive him. He was in it.
Was inspired by Emmett Till, the murder of Emmett Till that summer. So
that
Rosa
summer,
Parks sat thinking about what Emmett Till had done, and she decided not to get up for a white man. And they made it so the boycott was money, about money, because mostly black people rode the bus. So when they stopped riding, the bus company went broke. It was all about money. Now, and this is what we're doing now. We have to concentrate on the money. That's why we went to Costco, and that's why we have to unite. This is a new movement. We have to teach America how to love again, which we always did with our music and our tolerance of the ignorance of white supremacy. And all these items are privy to all of us that know Martin Luther King, who judged people by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin. And I'm being an old elder, I rationalize my whole existence on that idea, because I got around the world as a youngster, even 18, being in the service and traveling to Okinawa, the Far East, Hawaii, all around the world. And I found people all the same. And they always had their preconception of who I was because I was black. But I always knew that I was me. I was a New Yorker. I was above the nonsense that people told me. Some of my best friends in the service, I had a KKK carved on his wrist. And we were drinking buddies. He was just amazed because I would put on an English accent for him. He was just amazed. He had never met a black like that. So what I'm saying is that we're all disciples of Martin Luther King because he led the way through love energy and the Christian principle of love and just being you. And understand there's one race, the human race. And that's what we're
and I want
here
to give
today
thanks to God for his successor in this day of the King movement, Dr. Reverend Al Sharpton, who is continuing the fight in the King tradition, who continues to speak truth to power and continues to bring healing in a sick land. When he was speaking in the video and the reeling that you were talking about, that it is not because of our DNA that we are in these predicaments. It's because of laws that this country pressed upon particular people, and it's due to laws that need to be reversed. So we know that DEI was implemented along with affirmative action and civil rights because the laws that kept the marginalized groups behind, and so we need laws that can repair that.
Damian Walters is here. He's a youngster that came up in the movement.
I did.
And tell us about your experience. Well, the both of you were at the Martin Luther King celebration, and where was it?
Washington,
DC.
D.C.
Washington, D.C.
AME Church.
My.
Yep.
So, give me a little idea what that was like. What was that experience like for you, Megan?
I mean, being welcome in a place that was not only celebrating Martin Luther King, but also on the same day of an inauguration of a man who is the complete opposite of Martin Luther King. Personally, I needed to be there.
Okay.
I needed to be in a place that had a community and a united effort to carry on Martin Luther King's dream in this time of such darkness.
Yeah,
So I personally, even though I'm with National Action Network out of service, unfortunately there have been so many rights that I personally have been affected by recently. So not only I was there to help others, but I was there because I needed it as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is Ashley on Zoom? Ashley, are you there?
Oh, she must have stepped away.
Well, for me, it was a very.
No, I'm here. I'm sorry, I was muted.
Okay.
I'm in the car, so I don't know if you want me to go off camera, on camera, or not.
On camera.
Yes.
I know you. Thank you for being patient.
Okay.
We're in a
No
new
problem.
studio here.
I'm sorry. I
All
was
right.
seated, but I was ready, but then I had to move. I had to go to
All
the
right.
office. Yes. What was the question for me? I know
We
they
were
were talking about the Martin Luther King.
you know, what it was like in
History.
Washington, D.C. last two Mondays ago.
Well, in Martin Luther King Day, Reverend Sharpton and everyone spoke before me. They've put it in a great context. But the National Action Network and Reverend Sharpton led us to. We were supposed to have a march from McPherson Square, but because of the blistering cold, that was changed. The route was changed, and we ended up at the Metropolitan AME Church, which was the final location where we were to do the rally. And as Megan said, to be in DC on the same day where the current president was inaugurated, who represents everything the opposite of the dream, in our opinion, who has already taken actions against the dream and against dreamers in this country. We had to be there. We thank Reverend Sharpton for his leadership. We thank all the leaders who came that day and spoke, from Alfonso David, who represents the Global Economic Forum, and he is a lawyer for to help lead the DEI fight. He is the Fearless Fund lawyer, Arian Simone. So he basically broke down where we are with that. There was local clergy, there was elected officials present, and there was a packed crowd considering the climate because it was freezing and it was dangerous. And salute to those who got on the bus at 3 o'clock in the morning, and salute to Patrice, our National Crisis Director, and her volunteers, and Reverend McHenry, the House of Justice Coordinator, for their leadership, for making sure that people got from New York City safely, and of course to D-Vest Toon for his leadership in making sure other buses from around the nation got to DC safely. Once we got there and once everything, we were there, culminated for the rally, Reverend Sharpton spoke at the same time that Trump got inaugurated. I would say he put his hand on the Bible, but he didn't do that.
Right.
It was above the Bible.
Yeah.
But in that call to action, DEI was not necessarily said specifically by Trump, but Reverend Sharpton got the message that basically he had mentioned that he was going to follow up and end DEI. And that's when he made the statement that we will be basically fighting. He already announced that we were doing the 90-day review and basically going to release the list for who we will be supporting. But that's basically when he announced it. He basically put the world on watch. There has been countless people in response to that, basically asking for the list, creating their own list, and we encourage and engage that. As Ron already put it and made it plain, you all talked about it already. We put the words into action already. We started on Saturday in Harlem. We're continuing this Saturday in Jersey, doing buy-ins or boycotts for justice or boycotts for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that started with Costco. We know for sure that Costco is a company that supports DEI, has not rolled back its efforts or its support. There is a list circulating. There are a few lists that are circulating, but there are articles. If you for those who are familiar with us, we have the NAN Huddle every Monday, and I went over the article yesterday and spoke about it's about 11 companies that have pulled back already from DEI, that we said on the live, and there are about 3 who have not. But a few of those companies, and that's the problem, that's why we need 90 days for the review, it's about 85 now, that are in the middle. Some things we don't understand what they've taken back, so we want to take proper action. We just don't want to react. We want to take proper action and specifically target who no longer specifically supports us. We don't want we don't want a gray area. We want it black and white. So that's basically what we're doing. The, economic justice is our full-on fight. DEI is not new, as Ron broke down the history of it. The first time we heard it was in 2020, but people haven't taken it seriously, unless I think we would be more ahead in the fight. Ron has been leading efforts since last year. This is the 56th week, but even before that, with the Fearless Fund, we've been outside around this issue, and people, I don't think they understand how it will affect them. Even some of my friends, and you talked about Damien being younger, and I'm not going to keep speaking. I'm going to let him speak as well, but a lot of my friends, surprisingly, I fell out with them because of their political views. They voted for Trump because they felt that it was a better choice, because of some of the LGBTQ issues and some of their Christian beliefs. But at the end of the day, they're already impacted by some things that he's already canceled. So it's like, well, did you not believe that he was going to do all that he said he was going to do?
Right.
This is not a surprise to some of us.
Ashley,
He's
what
doing
are
what
they
he said
saying
he was
now?
going to do. He's doing what he said he was going to do. So
Yeah.
why are we now reacting?
Right.
We already knew what he was going to do.
Right.
Now,
Just saying.
some of these people that really talk positive about Trump, what are they saying now? That he's upset in 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks. He's
Right.
upset. He's trying to burn the house down.
He's dismantling it all.
Yeah.
He's dismantling all we fought for. There's so much blood that has been lost for the laws that he's easily just writing away with a pen. Executive actions, executive things. But we won't go back. We knew this was happening. So there is an agenda. There is a strategy that some of us are fighting. I encourage the Democrats to continue to unite. They need a better backbone. They need to come together because the midterms are 2 years is nothing. And we need to be preparing for that. We need to be preparing for 2028. Trump is not the end. He's the boogeyman, but he's not the end all be all. And I think right now we're getting lost in the muck and the sauce. We knew what was coming. So we need to be prepared and stay active with those who know what to do and not just react and just talk mess and just be scared in the house. I think that that's unnecessary, and I think it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
Sister Ashley is absolutely correct. The Democratic leadership really
Yeah.
needs to come together, not only come together,
Yeah.
but listen to the voices of the people
Yeah.
and stop telling
Yeah.
us and creating what the scenario should be. They need to listen to the
Yeah.
constituencies in which they come out and ask to vote for them.
Mm-hmm.
They are elected to represent us and our interests.
Mm-hmm.
And like I try to speak with many of those who are in leadership positions in regards to strategy as it pertained to winning this election against the Republicans. They were so focused on the individual candidates rather than the messaging and the policy.
They didn't brag enough.
No, well, not only did they not brag enough, but they created this idea that, well, wrong choice of words of idea, but we focus so much on issues that just pertain to certain individuals, and I'm just going to use the abortion issue for an example. They pushed the idea that we needed to vote for Kamala Harris because she was going to save abortion rights and other rights, but that didn't resonate with the rest of the country, if you understand what I'm saying.
Well, Ashley said last show we did, it was the women that didn't vote. The people, and black women in particular. Ashley, you made it quite clear. Because I had thoughts like that, but to hear it coming from you, I said, well, I was on them.
Well, I didn't say particular. I think I said white women in particular. I think that I said people were not telling the truth. A lot of people were talking loud, were probably voting for Trump. They were talking about Kamala. They said, oh, I was with her. I support her. I'm with her. There was some black women, and there were a lot of black men who did not vote or voted for Trump secretly.
But what
for sure.
But what
I was just blaming it on us as a people.
Well, what we should have done as a party was push the agenda and the policy, and to let people know that Trump was here. Is pushing to destroy democracy.
Yeah,
you know, we were making it about specific issues, but what was at stake was our democracy.
Democrats were too busy playing by the rules. Fair play.
Right.
Democracy.
Right.
Give everybody a chance to speak.
Right.
The gangsters came in and said, oh, we're taking over. We got all
Trump
the
was not
money.
playing by
And
any
look
rules,
at the $400 billion man out of South Africa. You can't get any more white supremacist than that.
And to Ashley's point, a couple of shows ago, you know, misogyny was a big problem.
Yeah.
From Shirley Chisholm to Hillary Clinton to Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
We have a history in this country of either voting against women's interests or, to Ashley's point, staying at home and not voting at all.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden realizing weeks, months down the line that non-vote really made an impact.
Wow. Wow. So how do these people feel now? I mean, we haven't had enough time to speak to all of them, but how do you think they look at this system now? And Trump's just going hog wild in not even 2 weeks' time. What, 10 days? What do we do now?
I think Ashley's right. I think we need to focus on not only uniting, but uniting behind candidates that in 2 years, in 4 years, in 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, that we commit to uniting behind candidates on the long term.
But we can't just unite behind candidates, but we have to unite behind their policies. Because too far often we make it about the individual and the candidate, like we did between Kamala and with Trump. It's not about the personality, it's not about the individual as much as it is about the policy and how it affects those who go out to vote each and every November. It's about the policy, not the individual. We got to take the individual out of this.
But no, I don't agree. Policies don't exist by themselves. People put policies into place. So we have to focus on the candidates.
I would say 60-40, and I would agree with you and say it's 60-40.
I'm agreeing with you, but also adding that we have to get behind the candidaats that have the policies that we can get behind.
All this doesn't mean anything to Elon Musk, the $400 billion man. And he is coming here with his Hood, his other gangster, Donald Trump, and trying to take over the planet. And we've got to unite. Humans around the world have to unite and put the stop to this takeover mankind.
But we have to unite again around an agenda that fits us all. Far too often in the Democratic Party, we say we have this huge tent and we bring everybody in, but we spend so much time fighting and arguing amongst each other about what the policy should be, what the agenda should be, instead of collectively saying, okay, this is what the agenda is, and let's all stand up together as a collective and push this agenda. Whereas the Republicans, once the leader says this is what it is, they all fall in line.
Yeah.
But that's also, studies show that throughout history, unfortunately, humans have an easier time strategizing and making plans when they're being hateful and divisive.
Yeah, exactly.
Humans, we have such a harder time. Studies have shown that we do have a harder time making progress when it's about love and all people trying to progress.
interesting.
Yeah, so you're bringing up a point that we have, as humans, we've come into contact with this over and over again.
It's hypocrisy when you can hate. We're about love energy. We've always cured the problems of the planet, loving people, turning the other cheek, always getting smacked back.
I think Ashley was going to say something.
All right, Ashley?
So I think, and can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that I don't think there's a huge answer. I think there's so many answers, so many correct answers from where we go from here.
Right.
One suggestion, and my father always says it, is you can find some of the answers in Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's book, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community, one of the books before he died. And he had all of the staff read that. I think, Megan, you had to read it as well. But you can find answers there, but I think the answers lie within ourselves. What is the urgent issue of this time? If you went around the room and asked all of us, I'm sure we would have a different answer, honestly. What specifically impacts your people, but also what impacts your family? What is impacting your community specifically? And if you ask Reverend Bartley, who is in Jersey, he would have a different issue. If you ask our chapters in LA, they would have a different issue. So that I think that we need to start working where we are specifically. So for instance, if Winston Gilchrist has media, and basically there's a way that we can teach. We know the power of media in this time, right? There's a way we can teach that power. We can transfer that power to our young people and start teaching them how to use the camera and use their phones. We all have smartphones, but are dumb using them. Right. And there's so many ways to get messages out and to organize and to basically solve our own issues. For instance, food insecurity, right? Food insecurity, we don't have to go that far to Trump for food insecurity in our neighborhoods if our kids are starving. We can come together. You have enough people in the neighborhood with jobs to basically solve that issue and get a pantry or get a refrigerator open. There's so many ways to start small. Start small in your community and solve those smaller issues. That's how you build community. Now, when you go to the bigger fight, we have a system. I know a lot of people say we have to abolish the system, but if you live in the United States of America, you live in a system, right? That is why we elect officials. That's why we have elected officials. They are to serve a purpose. A lot of us don't understand. They just think that they're just there to do and to be there. They don't understand the function of our elected officials. They are there to fight for us, fight for the people. So we have to make them fight for us. We are the backbone of any party, whether it's Democrats, Republican, or Independent. So we have to give them our agenda and make them fight for it. We have access to every elected official because they came and just spoke to us for our King Day publicly, public powers policy forum and our breakfast. So at the end of the day, we know how to get to them. What are we trying to get them to say and to do? That is my biggest issue. As far as even, let's go to New York City. The next 4 years, Trump won. He won already. But who will be our mayor? And who will be our governor? Who will represent us going to Trump? Right now we don't know what's happening with immigration. And we don't know what's happening with our mayor. Let's tell the truth and shame the devil. So it makes no sense. We need to focus also locally on our local leadership because that is important in the fight to fight Trump and to fight, not even fight Trump, but fight an administration that is not for us. The administration cannot flat out, they're not the KKK, even though some of them wear hoods. But they technically work for us as well. So there's some things that we can bring to the table, and we need to figure that out properly. Learn how to properly strategy, like the art of war, fight properly. We will be outside, but there were some of us that need to get inside with the agenda. Elected officials are some of those people, and then some of those are lawyers, and some of those are work on the Hill, like Ebony Riley, our DC borough chief. But there are specific levels of the fight, and I think that we all need to focus on our level instead of just trying to focus on where we can be seen, or where we think we can serve, not necessarily really serving anything, if that makes sense. Sorry, I'm in a tunnel.
Ashley,
Amen.
Ashley, I just came up with an idea. The executive director from the firehouse was just here with a group of kids that graduated from the firehouse, the last class. And they had to close down because of funding. Now, I saw a marriage between M&N and National Action Network. If we could get together as a team, I've been on this public access for almost 30 years. I'm home. I'm back to my home here, and I've been putting National Action Network on public access all these years.
Yeah.
So we should own a part of this. This is public access. We have the freedom to. I've got freedom to say anything come out of my mouth.
Right, and if you don't own the media, if you don't own, like, what do you own? If you don't own your media, that's what controls everyone's thoughts. People don't understand that.
And it's freedom for anybody. Anybody can come here and start a program.
Platform.
That's what we need to start. And you as the leader of the youth huddle.
Got you. I'm down to have that conversation.
All right.
But if we could just jump back to DEI
Okay.
and how important that is. What I don't understand is how an elected official, let alone the President of the United States, would create an executive order that denies people work. He's literally mandating that individuals get fired based on the color of their skin. DEI is a spin-off of affirmative action.
It is affirmative action.
If these programs weren't needed, they would have never been created. Secondly,
But who benefits most from DEI? White women.
The country benefits from DEI.
Okay.
Because the more people that are employed underneath DEI, more taxes go into the system.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So by having these people fired based on the color of their skin and dismantling DEI, it takes away revenue from the government. It creates a hardship for working families, single mothers, single men.
Yeah.
Mothers and fathers with children. So this has an impact not only on people of color, but it has an impact on the entire economy across the United States and across the globe. So, I mean, where's the rationalization behind this?
It's white supremacy.
Right.
If you are, Rev talks about understanding white supremacy in that when he was a kid, he listened to his grandparents. And it's the same kind of system where you're a child and you listen to your elders. And if you are being told that you as a white person or a young boy, as a straight white American young boy, that you are the best person in this land, then you grow up and then all of a sudden you have the White House, then you are trying to enact policies that oppress all those who are not like you. So to me, even though it's completely horrible, and I'm trying to be on the right side of history by helping in the fight against this push, when you study white supremacy and when you study leaders who rose to power by using strategies to lift white supremacy, exactly. Studies show that the same strategies that are used are just repeated over time by the same leaders or the same mindset behind different leaders. So to me, even though I completely agree with you, who does this benefit? It's oppressing everybody. There is one kind of person that it is benefiting, and then unfortunately, just to your point, white women were the first DEI hires. We, as everyone's trying to get a foot in the door, us white women, we were given the first foot in the door.
Yeah, of course.
And yet we see so many white women that voted for this administration, And also, you know, I was in Pennsylvania knocking on doors trying to get people to vote for Kamala Harris. There were also so many white women who did not vote. And to either vote against your interest as a woman or to not vote, which is essentially voting against your interest, like to your point, what's the point of that? They're enabling white supremacy.
Right.
And whether they realize it or not, it's perpetuating the same system.
So how do we get white people away from white supremacy?
For me, it was an internal thing. I don't really know the answer to that question because for me, anytime I was in white supremacy environments, I did not feel like myself.
All right.
I felt uncomfortable. I didn't like it. And so anytime
It wasn't human.
and it just wasn't how I felt comfortable as a human. So
Right.
so as I grew up and learned that those environments could be called white supremacy environments,
Okay.
because as a kid I didn't call it that. I didn't know that's what it was. As I started to grow and learn history and learn what different environments and situations can be called, I started to understand that it also is my responsibility to speak up in those spaces, to walk away from people that enable those spaces, that lead those kind of spaces, and to actively join people who are fighting against it. So as much as I don't know the absolute solution, I do urge people to look at their actions, listen to the people that you're around, and try to understand what you are a part of. And, you know, studies show that the future is diverse. The future is filled with females. The future is filled with black and brown people, LGBTQ, Jewish, Muslim. The future is not filled with straight white American men. It's just not. And so, you know, the more people get on that side, the more they're going to be disappointed, the more they're going to be disenfranchised, their rights are going to be taken away, their incomes are going to decrease, and over time they're going to realize that they are on the wrong side of history. So, you know, for me, it's an internal thing. I don't feel comfortable in white supremacist environments, but if people don't have empathy, they can look at their wallets, they can look at the business studies that have been happening now for years and years and years that show that diverse companies are the only ones that survive. They are the only ones that are going into the future. And this is not just studies in America, this is European studies, studies in Africa, studies in Asia. You know, the more you learn about business and finance, the more that it shows that. And I think it's another reason why we're seeing a resurgence of right-wing and white supremacist groups, because they are scared. They're so scared. Anytime they get scared, they rise up.
Of course.
So you know, to me, it's just like Reverend Sharpton says, when you throw, like his grandmother said, when you throw, or was it Reverend
the
Sharpton's
brick.
mom or his
Turn
grandmother?
on
When
the
you throw a
light,
brick,
Grandma.
yeah, when you throw a
the
brick
father hollers.
at a pigsty, the pig that hollers is the one that you hit. So, you know, Trump has clearly been, and I hate to say his name, 47, has clearly, and his followers have been clearly upset at Reverend Sharpton recently. They've been upset at the National Action Network, and they've been upset at all of us who are supporting not only a boycott, but a push against DEI rollbacks and a push against all of the rollbacks of all sorts of rights.
But
So
look at his ego now. He has done something that no other white supremacist has done. He's gotten control of the planet, and in 2 weeks he's tried to burn the house down and put a $400 billion man in charge.
but he doesn't have control of the planet. God is in charge.
No,
He
he's
d-
not.
Well, we know that. I'm talking about his delusion.
Yeah.
His delusion.
Just like with trying to freeze the grants, like there was the judge responded and said there are certain things he will not get away with. He won't get to do all of the crazy things that he is suggesting. Yes, he is the president, and yes, he has more power than he should. But he can't get away with everything. He can't. Some things are just delusional. But I think to help fight it is to continue to expose it. Just back in the day in slavery, basically, a lot of people say slavery is about economics, and it was. One of the biggest reasons slavery happened was about economics, but it was also about exposing what they did during the slave trade and showing what happened, that people understood that was a hatred involved. There was a lack of compassion and dignity. When they showed how they black people were burned on crosses by the KKK, when they
Right.
showed how they were ran over on railroads, when they showed the ugliness and hatred, when they showed Emmett Till. Remember, his mom decided to have the casket open so they could show what they did to her son.
Yep.
That helped to expose the racism and the hatred, the real supremacy. We could just talk about white supremacy all we want to. We can read it in books, but when you see it, when you have to face the ugliness of it. George Floyd, why that was the biggest protest we ever had, was because they saw Derek Chauvin kill George Floyd. They saw that murder, and everybody was at home and they just watched it over and over and over again. That caused outrage that you cannot deny.
Yep.
Irregardless of what you feel, if you're afraid of whatever was put in your mind about a certain people, that's hate, and that's murder that you can't deny. Just like we saw with Jordan Neely, we saw how they tried, literally in front of our faces. All of us was in the courtroom. How they twisted all of it in front of our faces.
Yep.
To this day, they've made this man a hero.
Yep.
They've made Daniel Penny a hero. Literally, now they're trying to turn. I just talked about George Floyd. They're trying to say that Chauvin is not responsible for killing George Floyd now.
Yeah.
In this era of Trump. So if we have to keep exposing the ugliness of what we're fighting. This is not just about policy or politics. It's about white supremacy, but it's also not just white supremacy. It's elitism, excuse me. It's misogyny. It's all of that. We're seeing all of that. Trump is not, I don't think that it's just black and white to him. It's about he feels more, I'm better than a certain group of people. And they don't deserve to even have the privilege to be in these rooms.
Yep.
Well, we have to work
Seriously.
on ourselves, basically, as you say, because we have that Willie Lynch syndrome.
Oh, that's conditioned in us. But also, and I know I'm talking too much, but as we go into Black History Month, now they're saying Black History Month is canceled, allegedly.
Ooh.
They're saying, I'm sure, what are they going to do with Women's History Month? So all of what we have to do, what we have to be responsible for, is teaching our own history.
Yeah.
Teaching our own history, using these platforms like what you have, and teaching the history. Damien is living history of what he did in not just National Network, New York City activism. Damien lived that. He was there when the KKK came to New York City. He lived that. Megan, literally, the last 10 years, she's not just been National Network, she's a literal activist. She lived it. She lived the fight of what happened in New York City.
Yep.
Around here, she can tell the story.
Yep.
Winston, you've been around for the last 50 years, not just in activism, but in arts and
83.
culture of New York City's culture.
Yeah.
No, but I'm just saying, my point is that people don't understand the history in one person that they're sitting in a room with.
Right.
And they don't honor it
Well, I
because
can
they
tell
don't
some
care.
stories.
They just go left and right. We have to stop and record our own history and tell our own stories and teach our community in order to build it, in order to go forward. It's not, Rev is I think, to me, he's my daddy. I think he's the greatest, but he's not the only person that is historic or the only legend in that room. There are so many stories and there's so many sacrifices. And in order for all of us to get as many people as we can, we got to share all of them.
And
I have
to-
one story about being 14, 1955. I was 14, the same age of Emmett Till. So when Emmett Till came out, I looked at this centerfold. I said, what is this? I mean, how this guy get in this kind of trouble? And his problem was that he was down south in front of a bunch of kids, and they dared him to go say something to this woman in the store.
What's the other one?
And his cousin tells the story. I've got the footage on it. And he went in there and said, bye baby coming out. He was from Chicago. He was a smart. He thought he was being cute. He had pictures in his pocket of the kids that he went to school with, and they were black and white. It was integrated in Chicago. And I was in George Washington High School up there and I was 14. My high school was half white, half black, mostly Jewish. And I couldn't understand. This crazy stuff is going on in this part of the world. And I had white friends and the white people lived on Riverside Drive. This is 1955, mind you. I'm 14. And I couldn't understand it. And I said, what a crazy part of the world. It was that far away. And I got along I was working downtown for a Jewish family. And when they saw this happen, they took me in like I was their family. and raised me in TV, not TV production, but photography. There was a photography company. That's how I got into photography. They took me in and even sent me to high school, private high school, because I didn't pass my regents in George Washington. I mean, so I was nurtured by a Jewish family who was 10 years out of the Holocaust. We're talking about 1955. So that was my experience here in New York, under Emmett Till. I mean, it was just, I couldn't understand it. Until this day, I can't understand Donald Trump. He's not human. The man's not human. And he's delusional. This is what we got to understand. We got a crazy man in the White House whose ego is blown up because all the garbage and hate that he's spewing and gotten away with it. How do we let him get away with this stuff? And Graham was on there, he said, well, he blame it on Garland. Garland had 2 years to take care of this stuff. But he was too timid, or had FBI agents in there that didn't, or white supremacists. So we've had white supremacy dominating and love energy, which we projected throughout the planet. I mean, when I was coming up, that's the way we got over. We were loving. So when do black people need to sing songs of love again? Bring love to the planet. Like Warren says, we're love revolutionaries. So we got to bring the love energy back. Because we understand white supremacy and we have to deny it.
Right. Well, just to go back to DEI, considering we are dealing with two topics, white supremacy as well as DEI, I just would like to, as we prepare to organize our communities across the country, to bring the awareness to your viewership and our listeners that there will be many things thrown at us to pull individuals away from the fold to say that what we're doing is wrong or incorrect. They might say that, you know, our actions might be hurting black businesses by asking folks to boycott places like Target. I've seen in the last several days where Target has advertised black business owners and manufacturers of dolls and other products that are made by black folks. And there's been a discussion saying that by us boycotting these distributors like Target, we are hurting black businesses, when in fact I urge all black businesses that have their products and merchandise in stores such as Target to pull them out of Target, because Target and places such as Target are doing more to hurt black people than they are to help them. They're making profits off of black people's products. Meanwhile, they're firing and denying work opportunities of black people.
And they love black customers.
I mean, in 1997,
Love black customers, though.
All
you
about
know?
money.
1997, 1998, the black community spent over $78 billion. Here we are 25 years, almost 30 years later. I don't know what the sum is of now, but I'm almost sure it's either doubled or if not tripled. So we've got to be smart about what we do. And again, I employ all black businesses that have merchandise in distributorships such as Kmart to pull their products out, start selling their products online. I also employ some of our black millionaires and billionaires to purchase items from these black businesses and distribute them amongst the black community, such as dolls. You know, I forget the young lady's name, but I saw it all over social media where they've got this little black girl holding her products, which are black dolls, saying, you know, support Target because they support me, but yet they don't support black people as a whole. So we've got to be cognizant and really strategic and logistical as we pursue this boycott.
We've got to teach the system.
We've got to be strategic as we move forward. Because when we unpeel the onion, we're going to find out a lot of companies that we say that we're going to boycott, we're going to find ourselves on a hunger strike. Because many of these companies are sister and brother corporations to parent corporations. And at the end of the day, there's going to be nothing left for us to purchase if we don't seek out black manufacturers, black distributors, black stores. These are this is the community that we need to reach out to. the black distributors, the black shoemakers, the black produce providers, the black farmers.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, it's a lot that we need to do, and we
And
can't
the
just
black-
say we're going on a boycott. We got to be strategic in what,
Well, we
what
got
we
to
do.
focus on the black vote.
And
Get that
also,
up.
and also,
Another thing.
also to Ashley's point, to speak out and expose those that are either pushing against DEI measures or are actively participating and perpetuating white supremacy, not only exposing them, but also exposing enablers, people with a lack of empathy. You know, a lot of people have brought up Nazi Germany because of Elon Musk's Hitler salute. If you study
History.
that time, studies show the real problem was not hate. The real problem that he had so many followers was the lack of empathy. And that the lack of empathy was what actually not only fueled the hate, but it also perpetuated so many enablers that thought they were good people, but just had a lack of empathy. They didn't think they were hateful people. Their friends didn't think they were hateful, but studies show they had a lack of empathy, so therefore they were enabling this larger structure of hate to exist within their culture. And we're seeing that now within this administration. We're seeing people that are actively hating, and then we're also seeing people that are enabling the hate. So to Ashley's point, we not only have to expose those who are actively hating, but we also have to expose those that are enabling, or to Ashley's point, that just didn't vote, that are not that are not willing to get out there and be a part of something for good.
But
And
when
we've
you
got to
have,
teach American
when you
history
have,
to, I'm sorry, Winston, we must teach American history to the upcoming generations, because they don't identify with the struggle in which took place for us as human beings of all nationalities
that's true.
to
True.
enjoy and to thrive off
True.
of. You know, we live in a microwave society, and again, those who are in high school and college, they are disenfranchised from the struggle. They have taken certain information and educations that was taught in the school system about America, about capitalism, how this country was formed, how it was created, and how it was ran. And so therefore, you know, you have young people saying, we're voting for Trump. You know, we're supporting Trump, because they don't know the fundamentals of this nation and how it works, and you know, it's, oh my Lord.
Which
Well,
is
when
partly
you-
by
well,
design,
you
because
know,
It
the-
is,
course.
it is
the
by
MAGA
design.
movement has been trying to ban books for years
Yeah.
and years and years and years. And it's, you know, again, if you study fascism and the Nazi culture, part of how they rose was by banning education and limiting education
Yes.
Yeah.
for certain groups and for our youth. So, you know, they want to erase the history in this country of cheating and lying and stealing that the white man
Yeah.
did in order to rise to power. They just want to erase that and then pretend that we're all equal and we all have equal backgrounds, when that is not the truth.
But you see, throughout
Can I-
history, only the dominating human on the planet has always been the most aggressive. The good guys have always come in last. So we have to have a combination of Martin and Malcolm. We as a people, we have to learn from, these are my two stars, Malcolm and Martin. I learned from the two of them.
Can't
And
forget
I-
Brother Adam Clayton Powell.
And
Well,
we can't
he-
forget Ashley. She has a point. She wants to say something.
I was so and I respect everything that everyone has said, but I also think that we should urge, yes, Martin and Malcolm are so many people's, like, that is the blueprint, but they died before they were 40 years old. They died
Yeah.
before they could accomplish all that they could get done. They never had to deal with the black president. They never had to deal with elected officials beyond Adam Clayton Powell in power. So we have to go beyond what that looks like and have our own dreams and figure out how
Yeah.
to make that reality
Yeah.
in this time. Now, I'm going to say something that y'all might not like, but just going back to the boycott. A lot of people have wrote on responses, because I do rep social media and NANS, response saying, oh, well, this is not black power. This is not, you're not supporting black businesses. This is the opposite. So first of all, DEI, to understand what DEI is not about black power. It's about diversity,
Right.
equity, and inclusion.
Right.
Yes.
So basically, it's not about, and I don't want us to have reverse racism. I think that is and we can get in a whole nother car because they said that black people cannot be racist, but it's also prejudice to be anti-white. That
Right.
what our fight is not to be against another group
No.
of people.
That's right.
Our
That's
fight
right.
is to have the same equal opportunity for all of
right.
us.
Yeah.
That is what we are fighting for.
That's
That is the point of DEI.
That's
It will be delusional for us to say that we can only support black businesses in order to support DEI, because black businesses don't produce everything in the world for us to live or thrive. That will be impossible. But this is not the first time we've asked for lists. Like I said, in the whole George Floyd outrage, they did the whole list. We're gonna only buy black and all. It's very hard to just do that and actually go get toilet paper. I'm
Right.
just speaking facts. So
Well-
we have to realize that we have to have allies. That's what the point of allies are. We wouldn't have got out of slavery. Harriet Tubman wouldn't have got there wouldn't have been an Underground Railroad. White people helping her on that Underground Railroad
Yep.
because they had the homes that she stopped at.
Well,
So we have to realize that we do have to find those businesses like Costco and like other ones who are holding strong to protect not just a certain group of people, but all people are welcome there, because all people spend their money there. That is the point that we're fighting for. I'm not trying to say, and I understand black power, umbawa, but that's not, let's not confuse the fight at hand.
That's
Well,
right.
we
Amen.
represent Black Power, National Action
Oh, I
Network.
know it's-
I've been here for how many years? A little less than you. You've been here 37. I've been here almost 30. But see, that's my hero, Reverend Sharpton. He preaches every Saturday, and I sit there and have a good time, because that's they're an example of a Christian man. And he's been through all the garbage. I mean, all the survival kits. I mean, and why? Because he's loving and God's on his side. So he's the teacher. I think we're blessed to be part of National Action Network. And you're blessed to have a father like Reverend Sharpton.
And I'll publicly say I believe Reverend Sharpton needs to become a professor at City College or at some type of college.
He already
either
is.
here in
He already
New
is.
York.
He already is. Ashley can, but he is. He already teaches.
That's our
yes.
hero.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad to know that.
Our hero, Ashley. Okay?
Yes.
So
I
we're in
got
the
you.
right
Sorry, I'm
spot.
not-
If anybody can solve the problem, Rev can. I always look to him for answers. I'm sane because of Reverend Sharpton. He's helped me keep my sanity.
Safe travels, Ashley.
Thank you, Reverend.
This has been a Gilchrist Experience, and thank you for coming. And the God in me loves the God in you. And stay tuned for more of this blessing from the Creator of all humankind, God. So if you don't have God in your heart, you're a loser, because you don't know love. Look at Trump. He could be a loving person if he wanted to be. Let him turn around and get some God in him and turn on everybody. That's it. Trump, find God, boy.
Jesus is the answer.
Learn to be human. God bless. Power to the people. That's a good one.